This podcast is brought to you by Shopify.
Welcome back to the AI Analysis Podcast. Today, we're stepping back into the world of pro wrestling and going back to 2024 when an allegedly leaked plan for WrestleMania 40 made the rounds online.
Yes, that one definitely got people talking, didn't it?
It really did. This wasn't just some quiet rumor, It absolutely ignited the wrestling community. Just wildfire, sparking huge debates, loads of speculation across social media, fan forums everywhere. So what we're going to do today is take that rumored card, specifically how it was debated and, well, picked apart by the hosts of the Down the Middle show, and we're going to lay it right alongside what actually happened at WrestleMania XL.
Yeah, it's a really interesting comparison to make. Our goal here really is to kind of sift through all those layers of information, see what insights pop up when you put the predictions, the speculation, right up against the actual reality.
Exactly. What did those down the middle guys get right? What did they completely miss? And maybe more importantly, what does the difference tell us about, the pro wrestling world? It's always changing, always dynamic. Plans can just shift so fast.
Absolutely. So we want to give you a clear, kind of structured look at the alleged leak versus the final event. We'll highlight the interesting facts, sure, but also those unexpected turns, those swerves, and maybe what it says about how these stories get built.
Yeah.
And so it's totally rebuilt on the fly.
Okay, let's get into it then. The down the middle discussion we're referencing, it started off pretty casually. They mentioned one of their hosts, Brian, wasn't there, apparently at a medical facility, but they quickly said he was okay, which is good.
Right, a little personal touch there.
Yeah, but they didn't linger on that. They jumped straight into the main topic, the thing everyone was buzzing about, this allegedly leaked WrestleMania 40 card that was just all over the internet.
And what's really striking, right off the bat, is how much they seemed to believe it was real.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they sounded pretty convinced. Used words like legit, or at least thought it was a real draft of ideas floating around WWE.
And why were they so sure?
Well, their main reason, from what they said, was that a lot of the matches on this supposed leak lined up really closely with their own predictions.
Yeah.
What they thought the storylines were building towards anyway.
Ah, okay. So a bit of confirmation bias, maybe. Seeing what they expected to see.
Could be, yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely some of that. But it also shows, how tuned in they were to the product. They felt it tracked with the ongoing WWE stories, and that made it seem credible to them.
Makes sense. So feeling pretty confident, they started breaking down night one of this alleged plan, and the very first thing that jumped out at them, sparked immediate chat, was the idea of Conor McGregor hosting WrestleMania.
Right, Conor McGregor, host of Night One. They found that interesting for sure. I mean, he's a massive global star.
Huge name.
But they immediately questioned if it was, organically feasible. They remembered all his past smack talk about wrestling, that sort of online spat he had with some WWE guys.
Yeah, I remember that. It kind of fizzled out, though, didn't it?
Exactly. That whole feud had cooled off quite a bit. So bringing him in as host felt a bit random, maybe. They pointed out WWE had advertised The New Day as hosts before, which felt more natural, more integrated.
So how did they think McGregor could fit in then?
They basically concluded that a surprise appearance, something totally unannounced, might be the only way it could work organically, without feeling forced or like a publicity stunt for someone whose connection to wrestling felt pretty tenuous at that point.
Okay. Interesting point about celebrity integration needing a story, usually. So moving from the host speculation, the leak then supposedly pointed to a big championship match. Rhea Ripley defending the women's world title against Becky Lynch.
Ah, yes. Now this one, unlike the McGregor idea, felt much more grounded. It was already kind of established, right? Becky had won the Elimination Chamber match to earn that shot.
Right, so the match itself wasn't the surprise. It was set. Two massive names in the women's division going head-to-head.
Exactly. But the down-the-middle guys, they weren't just predicting Rhea Ripley would win. They were certain, absolutely positive she was retaining that title.
Really? That confident? Why?
Their thinking was pretty layered, actually. First, they were convinced nobody from Judgment Day Rhea's group was losing at WrestleMania. They saw that faction as just gearing up for massive things, like total dominance.
Okay, faith in the faction's push.
Big time. And then specifically about Rhea, they called her the most popular women's wrestler on the planet. They were genuinely amazed she was only 27, given how dominant she becomes since, age 24.
Yeah, her rise has been pretty meteoric.
Totally. And they praised her in-ring work, too, called it smart. So the way she wrestles could give her a really long career, maybe into her 40s, unless there was some freak accident injury or... And this is a funny jab. a return to the creative team of 2012 quality booking.
Huh. Okay, a little shade thrown there. So they saw Rhea as this dominant, popular, smart champion with huge potential. But they had an issue with where the match was supposedly placed on the card.
They did, yeah. They heard it was the opening match for night one, and they thought that was a colossal mistake.
Wow, strong words. Why?
Well, they admitted it would start the show with a bang, for sure. I mean, Rhea versus Becky, huge energy. But putting maybe your hottest act in a major women's title match right at the very beginning of a long show, they worried it might peak too early. Maybe better to build towards a match like that.
I can see that argument about pacing a big event. All right, so after Rhea versus Becky, the alleged leak moved on to a tag team title match. Judgment Day again, this time Damian Priest and Finn Balor defending against Awesome Truth. The Miz and R-Truth.
Yep, Awesome Truth.
Yeah.
And the hosts seemed genuinely pleased by this pairing. They really enjoyed Miz and Truth together, especially after a recent Raw segment where Miz actually helped R-Truth out. They felt that moment kind of solidified them as a team.
Yeah, they have a weirdly compelling chemistry, don't they?
They really do. And this led the hosts into praising The Miz specifically, called his in-ring work awesome and extremely good. They brought up his match with Gunther from a few months earlier.
Oh, right, I remember that one.
They called that the wrestling match of the night back then. Said it was simple but excellent storytelling.
That's high praise for The Miz.
It really was. And it kind of launched them into a broader discussion, actually, about wrestlers sometimes leaving WWE, finding success elsewhere, and then maybe coming back as bigger stars, like Dolph Ziggler or, obviously, Cody Rhodes.
Right, that excursion idea.
Exactly. They felt Triple H seemed to understand that better than Vince McMahon did. This need for talent to sometimes grow outside the WWE system. They even speculated about maybe some lower to mid-card guys taking trips to places like TNA.
Like Jordan Grace at the Royal Rumble.
Precisely. They used her appearance as a perfect example. Mutually beneficial, they argued. Brought eyes to TNA, but also massively elevated Grace herself within the WWE landscape.
Interesting. Did they float any other wild ideas for excursions?
Yeah, they kind of playfully threw out Dominic Mysterio maybe doing a stint somewhere else to, develop. Or even Finn Balor going back to New Japan for a bit, where he was already a huge star.
Wow, okay. So really thinking about the interconnectedness of the wrestling world.
Definitely. And that naturally led them to talk about Kazuchika Okada, the huge Japanese star, signing with AEW.
Ah, Okada.
Okay.
Massive signing for AEW. What did they predict for him?
They actually predicted that eventually later in his career, Okada would probably end up signing with WWE.
Oh, really? Why?
Their reasoning was all about reach. They argued that while AEW has the passionate, hardcore fans, WWE just has a much bigger, more mainstream audience. They felt Okada might eventually want that wider notoriety, those more eyes.
They think WWE's audience wouldn't know Okada.
They kind of used Jade Cargill as an example.
Yeah.
They claimed a lot of WWE fans did not know who Jade Cargill was until she was shown on a WWE camera, despite her being a big deal in AEW.
Yeah.
They did credit AEW for her debut, with Shaq being genius, though.
Right. It highlights that difference in mainstream penetration, I suppose.
Yeah. The argument is basically that WWE offers a different level of global spotlight.
Okay, speaking of Jade Cargill, the alleged leak apparently had her in a singles match against Nia Jax at WrestleMania.
Correct. And the down the middle hosts, they were not keen on this idea at all.
What was their issue?
They flat out disagreed with it being on WrestleMania. They felt Jade, based on her AEW run, was maybe put out there way too early in that kind of featured role and wasn't quite ready for a Mania singles match yet.
So a developmental concern.
Yeah. They acknowledged her athleticism and her improvement, absolutely. But they just thought it was too early. Said it would be a good match a year from now, but not yet. They also thought the build, just based on a tease at the Royal Rumble, felt pretty random and underdeveloped for such a big stage.
Okay, pretty strong skepticism there. Did they stick with that?
Well, interestingly, they kind of talked themselves into a different prediction if the match actually happened. Yeah, they then said, okay, if this match is on the card, then Jade probably wins. They saw it as Triple H maybe wanting to showcase her improvement quickly in WWE.
Yeah.
Maybe even contrasting it with her longer time in AEW.
Ah, like a subtle dig almost. Look how much better she got here.
Potentially. They even connected it to the buzz around Mercedes Moné potentially signing with AEW. Like, it was part of this interpromotional competition to showcase new female stars. So, yeah, they flipped their prediction based on perceived company strategy.
Fascinating how they rationalized that potential booking. Okay, moving on. The U.S. title picture on this alleged card sounded wild. Logan Paul defending against, who was it, 5 guys in a ladder match?
Yep, Logan Paul defending against Kevin Owens, AJ Styles, LA Knight, Bobby Lashley, and Karrion Kross, all in a ladder match.
Wow.
The hosts immediately called it a potential train wreck in the best way possible. Just promising crazy, crazy stuff.
I can imagine a ladder match with those guys.
Yeah. And they noted how smartly it seemed to combine several ongoing feuds all into one match. You had Paul versus Owens, Knight versus Styles, Lashley versus Kross, all crammed into this chaotic title bout.
Efficient booking, I guess. What was their prediction for the outcome?
They figured Logan Paul would probably keep it, retain the title, or they said if he did lose, LA Knight was the best choice or honestly only choice.
Only LA Knight. Why him specifically?
They felt he had the most momentum and storyline justification out of all the challengers. Putting it on anyone else, in their view, wouldn't really move the needle for that person's character at that specific moment. Paul retaining made business sense, and Knight winning made sense from a fan momentum perspective.
Okay, that logic tracks. Now, let's get to the absolute biggest match on this alleged card, the one everyone was debating. Roman Reigns versus Cody Rhodes for the undisputed WWE Universal Championship.
The main event. Yeah, this is where their discussion got really interesting. Initially, the hosts were fully behind Cody. They wanted him to finish the story, win the title his dad never did.
Yeah.
All that emotional weight.
Right, that seemed to be the prevailing fan sentiment, too.
Totally. But then, one of the hosts had a major change of heart, the complete turnaround.
Really? What happened?
He said he was converted by an argument made by O'Shea Jackson Jr., Ice Cube's son, who they apparently really respect as a wrestling mind.
Okay. What was the argument?
The argument was, essentially, that Roman's reign is more important than Cody's story for the overall health and future of WWE as an entity.
Whoa, okay, that's a big statement. Unpack that a bit.
The idea, as they explained it, was that Roman's incredibly long reign wasn't just a storyline anymore. It was the foundation for a whole new Roman era. Something potentially as big and defining as, like, Hulkamania back in the day.
A generational run.
Exactly. And for that to happen, for Roman's legacy to be truly cemented, he needed to hit certain milestones. Specifically, he needed to surpass Hulk Hogan's legendary title reign record. And crucially, he needed to eventually face and beat The Rock.
So keeping the title on Roman was about building this massive Hogan-level legacy and setting up that huge Rock match down the line.
That was the argument, yeah. That Roman's legacy and potentially the company's future drawing power depended on him retaining the title at WrestleMania 40, specifically so he could eventually beat The Rock while still champion. It reframes the whole thing from a single story beat to a much longer-term strategic vision.
That puts a completely different spin on it. Less about immediate payoff, more about historical significance and business.
Precisely. It's that classic conflict. What the dedicated fans want right now versus what might be perceived as best for the company's long-term narrative and mainstream appeal.
Did they address Roman's infrequent title defenses? That was a criticism some fans had.
They did. They defended it, actually. Likened him to an old-school heel champ. The kind who doesn't wrestle every week, making his appearances feel more special, more like a big deal, almost like he's so good he doesn't need to defend it all the time.
Contrasting him with someone like John Cena, maybe, who was always there.
Exactly. They explicitly contrasted it with Cena's work ethic era. And they also admitted they actually wanted to see Roman versus The Rock more than Roman versus Cody II, purely from a business perspective, citing The Rock's universal recognition.
Man, that's a cold, hard business take, but you can see the logic. Did they regret how the stories intertwined?
Yeah, they did express some hindsight regret. Wish Cody's story hadn't bumped up against Roman's so soon after his return. Felt maybe the story should have been kept separate for longer, letting each build to its own climax independently.
So their final prediction after this conversion was Roman retains.
Yes. They landed on Roman retaining, beating The Rock later, passing Hogan's record, and then maybe losing to Cody down the line to properly kick off a true Cody era.
Wow, okay. And what about Damian Priest and his briefcase and all this?
Good point. They brought that up too. They were worried a Priest cash in right after a potential Cody win would be terrible, like disappointing on 2 levels. Because it would kill the payoff for the Roman story and kill the payoff for the Cody story simultaneously. Just pull the rug out from under both narratives. They also questioned why Priest would even cash in on Seth Rollins' World Heavyweight title if he won it, when Roman's title was clearly the bigger prize. Unless
what?
Unless he was genuinely afraid of the bloodline interfering if he tried to cash in on Roman. which, you know, adds another layer to it.
Right, the bloodline factor looming over everything. Okay, almost through their night one leak analysis. What about the women's tag team title?
Yeah, the alleged league had the Kabuki Warriors defending in a four-way match against Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez, Katana Chance and Kaden Carter, and Candice LeRae and Indy Hartwell, a.k.a. The Way.
And what did Down the Middle think of that lineup?
They were pretty critical of The Way being included, called their dynamic from NXT weird and cringe. Harsh, but that was their take.
Okay, and the prediction?
They figured the Kabuki Warriors would retain. Their logic was basically that four-way matches are chaotic, and it's easier for the champs to sneak out a win in that kind of environment, especially for tag titles that sometimes change hands a lot.
Yeah, standard multi-person match booking logic.
Right.
Protect the champs in chaos. Okay, last one from the alleged night one leak, the big tag team main event.
Right. Roman Reigns and The Rock teaming up against Cody Rhodes and Seth Rollins.
What was the take here?
They described it as pulling a New Japan. You know, putting champions in a big non-title tag match purely to advance the story.
Makes sense. And the prediction?
No doubt in their minds. Rock and Roman win. Had to happen, they thought, to serve as a stepping stone and build maximum heat and stakes for the undisputed title match on night 2. Didn't see it going any other way.
All right. Let's take a quick breather here. When we come back, we'll dive into what actually happened at WrestleMania XL and see how it stacks up against all those predictions and that alleged leaked card.
Okay, so let's start at the beginning. You've got an idea. How easy is it to actually build your online store with Shopify?
Well, that's clearly a major focus for them. Ease of entry. They have this online store editor, loads of themes you can customize. The idea is you don't need to be a web developer to get something professional looking online.
Right. No coding required.
And then there's the Shopify App Store. Think of it like building blocks. Need advanced email marketing, there's an app.
So you can kind of layer on functionality as you grow rather than needing everything up front.
Precisely. It lets you start lean and add tools as you actually need them.
And they handle some of the tricky bits too, don't they? Like getting your domain name, the web hosting.
Keeping all that integrated definitely smooths out the process.
But a store isn't much good if you can't sell from it, or if you want to sell in other places too.
Yeah, and that's where their whole sell everywhere concept comes in. It's not just about your .com anymore.
Right, so obviously your online store, but also physical stores.
Yep, with their point of sale system, so you can manage online and in-person sales together.
And social media.
Absolutely. Integrations for selling directly on social platforms, marketplaces, plus tools for international selling, even wholesale or B2B.
All managed from one place.
And they really emphasize their checkout.
The world-class checkout. Why is it so important?
Think about it. You do all this work to get someone interested, get them to add to cart. The last thing you want is a clunky, slow, or untrustworthy checkout page making them leave.
So connecting all those sales channels helps you reach more people, and a good checkout helps you actually convert them. And what about the physical side? Getting orders out the door.
Yeah, logistics. Shopify Shipping aims to simplify that. Integrated shipping labels, better rates, inventory management tools. Plus, they have automation tools like Shopify Flow, which can handle repetitive tasks, freeing up your time.
Automation is always good.
And they're embracing AI, too, with Shopify Magic.
AI. For what?
Things like generating product descriptions, suggesting email subject lines, basically using AI to help merchants work faster and smarter. From the moment you have an idea, through setting up, selling everywhere, marketing, managing operations, scaling up. They aim to provide the tools and support for each stage.
Ease of use at the start, but power and flexibility as you grow. Click the link in the description and get your first 3 months for $1 each. Okay, we are back. We've gone through the alleged WrestleMania 40 leak. We've heard all the reactions and predictions from the down the middle hosts, their confidence, their reasoning, their last-minute changes of heart.
Yeah, they definitely had some strong takes based on that rumored information.
So now, the moment of truth. Let's compare it all to reality.
Right.
What actually went down on April 6th and 7th, 2024 at Lincoln Financial Field in Philadelphia for WrestleMania XL?
Well, first off, it was absolutely massive. As you said, 2 nights, Saturday, April 6th and Sunday, April 7th, Lincoln Financial Field in Philly. And the combined attendance they announced, a staggering 120,239 people over the 2 nights.
Wow, that's incredible. The atmosphere must have been insane.
Oh, absolutely electric. You could feel it even watching at home. And they definitely pulled out the stops for the presentation.
Like night 1, you had Coco Jones singing the national anthem, Grammy winner. Rapper Lil Wayne performed. And for the Philly crowd, Eagles players Jason Kelce and Lane Johnson got involved in the Rey Mysterio-Andrade tag match.
Ah, nice touch for the home crowd.
Definitely. Plus, the band Motionless in White played Rhea Ripley's theme live for her entrance. Really cool visual and sound.
Nice. And night 2?
Equally star-studded. The country duo, The War and Treaty, did God Bless America. Snoop Dogg was on commentary for a bit and announced the attendance. And then there was the viral moment with Logan Paul coming out, accompanied by Ice Show Speed, dressed as a giant Prime bottle.
Oh my God, I saw clips of that. That was something else.
It really was. But it shows, WrestleMania is more than just wrestling now. It's a full-blown pop culture event. Attracts eyes from everywhere.
For sure. Okay, before we hit the matches one by one, maybe quickly remind everyone about the roller coaster storyline that led to the main event, because that itself was a huge part of the story around WrestleMania 40.
Absolutely crucial context. So, quick recap. Cody Rhodes returns to WWE in April 2022, aiming to finish his story. Win a WWE title his dad Dusty never did.
Right.
Roman Reigns becomes undisputed champ at WrestleMania 38, starts this historic reign. Cody wins the 2023 Rumble, challenges Roman at Mania 39, but loses. Story unfinished. Big cliffhanger.
Still stings for some fans, that loss.
Oh, yeah. Then, fast forward to early 2024, The Rock shows up on Raw, seemingly challenges his cousin Roman, talks about the head of the
The
table.
dream match everyone thought was coming.
Exactly. Then Cody wins the 2024 Rumble again, another shot. But then on SmackDown, he does that promo where he seems to step aside, says he won't challenge Roman, implying he's letting The Rock have the spot.
And the internet exploded.
Completely. Massive fan backlash. Hashtag we want Cody trending worldwide. People were furious. And it genuinely seemed to make WWE pivot their plans. A real example of fan power influencing the creative direction.
It was wild to watch unfold in real time.
Totally. So then you get that crazy WrestleMania XL kickoff press event. Rock and Roman declare they're facing each other, but then Cody comes out, takes back his decision, says, no, I'm challenging Roman. And then...
The slap. Rock slaps Cody, turns heel for the first time in like 20 years.
Huge moment.
Yeah.
Instantly changed everything. And Seth Rollins coming out to back Cody just cemented the battle lines for that big Night 1 tag match. It was just phenomenal drama, all stemming from that initial fan reaction.
Incredible buildup. Okay, so with all that context, let's finally break down the actual match card, night by night, and see how it compares to the leak and the down-the-middle discussion. Night 1 first.
All right. Night 1 opened with Rhea Ripley defending the Women's World Championship against Becky Lynch.
Okay, so the leak got the match right and down the middle predicted it. What about the outcome and placement?
Well, Rhea Ripley did retain her title, so down the middle was absolutely correct on that prediction.
Yeah.
And it did open the show, just like they heard it would, even though they thought it was a colossal mistake placement-wise.
Huh. So spot on for match, outcome, and placement, even with their reservations. How was the match itself?
Really good, hard-hitting match, set a strong tone for the night. Rhea looked dominant.
Okay, what was next? The tag team titles.
Yes, the undisputed WWE Tag Team Championship. But it wasn't Judgment Day versus Awesome Truth like the leak suggested.
Oh, what was it then?
It was a six-pack tag team ladder match. Way more chaotic, multiple teams involved, and the titles actually got split.
Split? How?
A-Town Down Under won the SmackDown tag titles, and Awesome Truth Miz and R-Truth won the Raw tag titles.
Whoa, okay. So Awesome Truth did win titles, which Down the Middle would have liked, but the format and the splitting of the belts were totally different from the leak.
Completely different. Shows how much things can change from an early draft. If that leak was an early draft,
Yep.
Much bigger spectacle than the rumored match.
Interesting. Okay, what followed that?
Then we had the brother versus brother match. G Uso versus Jimmy Uso.
The big personal feud. Did that match the leak and predictions?
Pretty much, yeah. The match happened as expected. It had been building forever. Down the middle, discussed it, one host felt Jay would win, and Jay did win via pinfall. A solid payoff to that long story.
Good. Next.
Next was a six-woman tag match. Jade Cargill, Bianca Belair, and Naomi defeated Damage CTRL, Dakota Kai, Asuka, and Kairi-san.
Okay, so Jade Cargill was in a match, but not the singles match against Nia Jax that was rumored.
Correct. It was a tag match instead. Remember, down the middle, didn't like the Nia Jax idea, thought it was too soon for Jade in a singles Mania match, but they did predict that if Jade had any match, she'd likely win.
And her team won here.
Yep, her team won. So she got a big WrestleMania moment and a victory, just in a different format than the leak suggested. Kind of aligns with their revised prediction of showcasing her strongly.
Okay, makes sense. A way to feature her without the pressure of a singles debut on that stage. What came after the six-woman tag?
This is where things took a major left turn from the leak. Sami Zayn defeated Gunther for the Intercontinental Championship.
Sami Zayn. He wasn't mentioned at all in the leak discussion for Gunther, was he?
Not even remotely. The leak, and therefore the down-the-middle discussion, had Gunther facing Chad Gable or maybe Dominic Mysterio. Sammy wasn't on their radar for this match at all.
And Sammy won, ending Gunther's massive 666-day reign.
Yep. Huge upset, massive pop from the crowd. A complete shock compared to the rumored plans. This felt like a genuine, late-breaking creative decision or something kept totally under wraps.
Wow, that's a huge deviation. Okay, what was the main event of night one?
The main event was, as predicted, the Bloodline, The Rock and Roman Reigns versus Cody Rhodes and Seth Rollins.
And the outcome, did Rock and Roman win, like down the middle expected?
They did. Rock and Roman got the victory, which, as per the stipulation announced beforehand, meant that the undisputed WWE Universal Championship match on night 2 would now be contested under Bloodline rules.
Right, anything goes. So that part played out exactly as down the middle predicted based on the leak, setting the stage perfectly for night 2's main event.
Exactly. A crucial story beat that seemed locked in.
Okay, let's move to night 2 then. How did that kick off?
Night 2 opened with another big title match. Drew McIntyre challenging Seth freaking Rollins for the World Heavyweight Championship.
Yeah.
And CM Punk was on commentary, adding extra spice.
Right. Punk stirring the pot. What was the result?
Drew McIntyre won. He finally beat Seth Rollins and won the World Heavyweight Championship. Huge moment for him.
Finally got his big win in front of fans.
For about 9 seconds.
Wait, what? 9 seconds?
Yep, because immediately after Drew won, Damian Priest ran out, cashed in his Money in the Bank briefcase, hit Drew, pinned him, and became the new World Heavyweight Champion.
No way. A cash in right then.
Right then and there. Total shocker. Drew's celebration lasted less time than his entrance, probably.
Oh man, that's brutal. How did this compare to the leak discussion? Down the middle had mentioned Priest's briefcase.
They mentioned the briefcase as a possibility, yeah. But the leak they discussed had this match as potentially a triple threat with Sammy involved. The actual match was singles, Drew won, and then came the cash-in. Nobody predicted that specific sequence or timing. Another massive swerve.
Unbelievable. Right, what calmed things down after that shock?
Next up was LA Knight versus AJ Styles.
Okay, the leak had them both in that big U.S. title ladder match.
Correct. But here, they got their own one-on-one singles match instead. A straight-up grudge match.
And who won?
LA Knight got the win, so he still got a big singles victory at WrestleMania, which felt important for his momentum, just not in the multi-man ladder match scenario.
So the goal of featuring LA Knight strongly seemed consistent, even if the match format changed.
Seems that way, yeah. Gave him a focused win against a top guy.
All right, then the U.S. title match itself, Logan Paul defending. Who ended up challenging him?
It ended up being a triple threat match. Logan Paul defending against Kevin Owens and Randy Orton.
Okay, so Owens was in the rumored ladder match, but Orton wasn't mentioned for that one. And Styles wasn't in this actual match. And it wasn't a ladder match, lots of changes there.
Definitely scaled down from the rumored 5-challenger ladder match. But the outcome...
Let me guess. Logan Paul retained, like down the middle, thought was likely.
Bingo. Logan Paul pinned Kevin Owens to retain the United States Championship. So the outcome prediction was right, even if the match participants and type changed.
Interesting. Keeping the title on the big mainstream star. Makes sense. Was there another women's match on night 2?
Yes, and this was another one completely absent from the alleged leak and the down-the-middle discussion. Bayley challenged Io Sky for the WWE Women's Championship.
Oh, Bayley versus Io. That was the culmination of the whole damaged CTRL implosion storyline, right?
Exactly. A really personal, well-built story. And Bayley won the title.
Wow. Another big title change that wasn't on the rumored card at all.
Not a whisper of it. The leak discussion focused on the Kabuki Warriors in the tag match, not this major singles championship match for the other damaged CTRL members. Shows how incomplete or outdated that alleged leak must have been. Bayley's win was a huge emotional moment.
Okay, so that brings us to the main event of night 2, the big one. Undisputed WWE Universal Championship, Roman Reigns defending against Cody Rhodes, Bloodline rules.
The culmination of everything, years in the making, under Bloodline rules, which meant chaos was guaranteed.
And the outcome, did Roman retain, cementing the Roman era as down the middle, ultimately predicted after that O'Shea Jackson Jr. argument?
Yep.
No,
Cody Rhodes defeated Roman Reigns. Cody Rhodes won the undisputed WWE Universal Championship.
He did it. He finished the story.
He finished the story. It was an absolutely insane match. Interference galore, just as Bloodline rules implied.
Right.
But then, John Cena came out, took out Solo Sikoa. Then The Rock came out, confronted Cena, stare down. Rock bottom to Cena.
Oh, my God.
But then, the lights go out. The Undertaker appears, chokeslams The Rock, vanishes.
Taker.
Yes. leaving Cody clear to hit multiple crossroads on Roman for the pinfall victory. New champion. Story finished. Pandemonium.
That is unbelievable. Cena, The Undertaker getting involved, and Cody actually winning. That completely flies in the face of Down the Middle's final prediction.
Completely. It was the biggest possible deviation from their eventual conclusion that Roman had to retain for the legacy, for the Hogan record, for the Rock match, the fan desire, the hashtag We Want Cody movement. It actually won out in the end.
Wow. Wow. Okay, so let's try and wrap our heads around this. Comparing the alleged leak and that discussion to the actual event.
Right.
What are the big takeaways?
Well, you definitely saw some threads of truth, right? Certain matches, like G versus Jimmy, happened largely as expected. The Night 1 tag main event outcomes, setting up Night 2's rules, also tracked. That suggests some core story beats were probably locked in early.
But the differences were massive.
Huge. Gunther losing to Sami Zayn, Bayley beating Io Sky. Neither match was even mentioned in the leak discussion. Jade Cargill being in a tag match, not singles. The U.S. title match being a triple threat, not a six-man ladder match. And of course, the absolute biggest one, Cody winning, not Roman.
Yeah, that main event outcome changes everything about how you view their prediction process.
It really does.
Yeah.
It highlights just how volatile wrestling booking can be. That alleged leak. Maybe it was a very early draft. Maybe parts were deliberate misdirection. Maybe parts were just fan speculation that got mixed in and gained credibility. We just don't know.
Right. But it definitely wasn't a perfect blueprint. Far from it.
Not even close. The Sami win, the Bayley win, the Undertaker showing up. Those moments felt genuinely surprising, genuinely unpredictable, which honestly is great for wrestling.
Absolutely. That unpredictability, those swerves, the moments where you go, no way. Like Cody actually winning after that whole fan movement, that's what makes it so compelling, isn't it? It's not just the script playing out. It feels alive, like it responds to the audience.
It truly felt like a living narrative this time around, especially with the Cody situation. The company listened, they pivoted, and they delivered a moment that resonated massively because of that audience connection. It's a really unique form of interactive storytelling when it works like that.
So maybe the final thought for you listening is, what does this tell you about trusting leaked information? Not just in wrestling, but, in any field. How much weight should you give it?
And maybe more broadly, how much do you think fan reaction really influences big decisions in major companies? We saw it happen dramatically here, but does it happen elsewhere? In entertainment, tech, even politics? Something to think about until next time.
How's it going, everybody? It's Jake from the Down the Middle podcast, and I'm going to take a quick moment to invite you to check out our show, which airs every other Thursday at 8:30 p.m. on YouTube. If you love pro wrestling, you're definitely going to want to check this out. We talk about the latest in pro wrestling.
AEW's pay-per-views are rough, man. And it's obvious, like, Tony Khan is booking for Tony Khan, and it's obvious because Tony Khan has clinical freaking ADHD. But the kind where, like, you can hyper-focus on the thing you love. He's like, I legitimately want to watch wrestling for 7 hours. It's like, Tony.
Now everybody else does.
Hardly anybody else does.
We talk about some of our favorite things in pro wrestling.
One of the best promos ever. Like, can we just say, like, I had fucking goosebumps. And here's the thing. I know it's a work, but I'm watching that and I'm like, I think MJF might have duped somebody.
And we have a hot take here and there, too.
Nothing against Riho. It's just like, do you think the audience is f***ing stupid? Riho weighs 98 pounds.
The vast majority of great moments in professional wrestling have nothing to do with the move. Don't get me wrong. The moves are part of it. Cena's like, I don't even remember how I won. Everybody remembers this.
But the best part about our show is that you are part of the conversation. So check out the show and join in the fun.